Hi, welcome to Buddhistdoor International today. I'm Cathy Ziengs, and we have a very nice visitor today who's come to explain some information about her project, her large international project. We have with us today Jing Rui, and she is the executive director of 84,000.
84,000 is actually a global nonprofit organization trying to preserve the Tibetan Buddhist canon by translating it into the world's modern languages and making them available to everyone.
It's a big project because, as the name 84,000 implies, the Buddha spoke 84,000 articles of Dharma. These 84,000 teachings are known as the Kangyur, and they comprise some 70,000 pages. It's not one single handy book like some religions. In fact, it's an entire bookcase full of teachings spoken by the Buddha.
How did the project begin?
In 2009, there was a translation conference that was organized in India, in this tiny little Himalayan village in Bir. At the time, there were 7 Rinpoches and 50 of the world's foremost translators who came to this conference. The chairman of the conference was Dzogchen Ponlop Rinpoche.
Okay.
And it was hosted by Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche and other Rinpoches of the all 4 traditions. And then among the translators were people like Venerable Matthew Ricard, translators from Padmakara Translation Group, from FPMT. People who are in the field came to this conference. People realized that at that time, in 2009, only less than 5% of the Kangyur and Tengyur, which is the Tibetan canon, has been translated, which means more than 95% has never been translated and remains in the classical Tibetan language.
There's a third reason why the 84,000 Project's effort to translate the Dharma into English is so very important. That is, the great Tibetan masters who know that Kangyur and Tengyur, who were trained in Tibet, who have studied it deeply for all of their lives, are now very senior in years. Many have already passed beyond our opportunity to ask their advice and receive their assistance in translation. In addition to that, people with high levels of literacy in Tibetan, which are required for good translation, are becoming fewer and fewer every year. Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche has said, in fact, unless we do this translation, a vast swath of Buddhist civilization and culture is likely to face annihilation. Thus, the translation effort needs to begin immediately and continue quickly while we still have the teachers that we consult and experts who can really deeply understand the texts.
By the end of the conference, they passed a collective resolution saying that they would come together to translate the Kangyur in 25 years and the Tengyur in 100 years.
The whole kind of bulk of the teaching of the Buddha, to make that available for the people of that language, especially to English, because English now is kind of a international language that's used all over the world. So I think through that way, most of the people in the world can access to it.
I felt very interested because the Kangyur is the words of the Buddha, and that's really the foundation of Buddhism, of the Buddhist teachings, is the actual words of the Buddha. And it seems that for anyone to be a Buddhist and to study Buddhism, is really important to know your actual our teacher, the Buddha Shakyamuni. And if we were to translate the Kangyur into other languages, then in the future we would lay another foundation so it also continues to exist in the Western world.
How do you establish editorial standards?
So first of all, we have the selection phase where we invite translators to apply and send in applications to us with sample translations and, that whole proposal. And the editorial and grants committee then go through a review process which lasts for about 2-3 months. So far, every year we receive applications from more than 20 teams. We have more than 140 translators. Half of them are from the Dharma centers all over the world. Many of them are like Tibetan monks, lamas, rinpoches, geishas, khenpos, and so on. And half of them are the Western academics, including people from University of Oxford, UC Berkeley, University of Tokyo, Vienna, Hamburg, and so on.
I'm Catherine Dalton, and I am a translator and also a PhD student at the University of California at Berkeley. I work as a translator for the Dharmachakra Translation Committee, which is a translation committee directed by Chukyinima Rinpoche. My role in this translation was as part of a team of translators, all part of the Dharmachakra translation group. There were actually 6 of us who were working on the actual translation of the text from Tibetan into English. Others, we also had a Sanskrit consultant work on the text with us as well.
When the translators have completed, their given us a complete draft of the translation, then it moves on to the review team. So it is only after the work has gone through our internal and external review, the 2 phases, it goes through a pre-publication phase of copy editing, then it goes online, and then we have another round of copy editing.
Right.
So it is only going through all these phases before a text can be published and made publicly, available.
How do you fund the project?
We have a website, 84,000.co, and where we accept online donations.
All
So the
right.
majority of our donations actually come through the website. So it's been spreading very much through our website and e-newsletters, Facebook, and very much by word of mouth. In some cases where there are some big Buddhist events or also conferences, then presentations have been made. So people do hear about it through these efforts.
How did you personally get involved?
Before I took on 84,000, I was a social worker working in Singapore. When I left my previous employer, I thought that I would go to India to volunteer. And then I was volunteering my service to Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche, helping him on other projects. And then one day over dinner, he was like, "Do you want to be a slave of this translation project?" And I just had to say yes, but I really didn't know what he wanted me to do.
Right.
So I said yes without thinking. And then I realized that Rinpoche really wanted me to be the executive director of this project. And everybody else in the committee was much older than I am. Yeah. And
What do you do as the executive director?
I see myself as the glue or the runner, the one making sure that everyone is communicating and supporting their work. So because of that, I also do have to travel quite a bit to go to places where the scholars can be, where the translators can be. And I do want to communicate about this project to people in different places. So for example, I'm here in Hong Kong with my Hong Kong volunteers to promote 84,000 in an event.
Right.
And then sometimes I go to the monasteries also to explain to them what we're doing and inspire the monks to be part of the project.
What is sutra resounding?
It's a Tibetan tradition where when people wants to accumulate merit, or if they have some obstacles, in order to remove the obstacle, they go to monastery and request the lamas to recite whole Tripitaka. The monks or even some lay practitioner, when you read, you get some understanding of the teaching of the Buddha, and I think that's what makes a big difference. And also there's some tradition in the villages when they are harvesting, there's no rain, so they would go to the monastery and request the monastery to lend the whole Tripitaka and lead it by the monks, and people will carry and make a big circumambulation around the whole village. And normally in Tibet and in the Himalaya region and Bhutan and all that, They say after doing that, it brings the rain. So that is kind of local belief.
One of our working committee members, Chojung Kunga, got her inspiration from this resounding and thought that we could recreate that with the English sutras. So in May 2011, we did the first trial run of a resounding in Washington, D.C.
Each of us will read a different sutra, all at the same time, creating a beautiful, auspicious, and mixed resounding of the words of the Buddha. As you read your own sutra aloud, read in a mindful, respectful speaking voice. The person beside you will be reading a different one. Altogether, the sounds combine into what's known as a resounding.
And then last year in October, 300 people gathered under the Bodhi tree to read the words of the Buddha.
Many of us are trying to translate the words of the Buddha in different language. And as our first celebration, we are going to read the sutra in English.
I offer to those victorious ones the best robes and excellent fragrances.
So a lot of people, after the resounding, they come back to us and say how wonderful the experience is.
Will there be more sutra resoundings?
Anybody is free to use all the sutras that are available on our website. So if there's any organization, any group that's keen to organize a resounding, you can write to us through our website and email. We can discuss this further with you. We can give you all the latest links, as well as all the materials, the past materials we have used as well as all the materials that can be used in organizing a resounding event.
And how is your current progress?
We're really happy about our progress because up to today we are already working on more than 100 texts and more than 10,000 pages, which is actually more than 15% of the 25-year goal. So we are proceeding quite well so far. And out of the 100 works that we are translating right now, 12 have been completed and put online. So they are now available on our online reading room. They can be read online or they could be downloaded as PDFs. We are just growing steadily every year. With so many more texts needing to be translated, we're very sure that there will be more translators who will come on board.
Right.
Also, we have been in constant communication with various universities, such as Vienna, as well as the Rangjung Yeshe Institute and other translator training programs.
Okay.
So just with the start of 84,000, now there is an increased interest in being trained as translators. And so with our engagements with the various training institutes, there's definitely going to be much more translators. In the long run, I'm not sure. I mean, anything could happen. In the
True.
long run.
You're still young in the project. Well, thank you very much for stopping by Buddhistdoor International, and we're delighted to be able to share with our audience a bit more information. And you can see from the link on our video where to go and find you on Facebook and on the internet.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.